Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, I'm so excited to be hanging out with and interviewing Rouge the Goth, a goth from East Texas, bringing us fun, engaging, and relatable content on YouTube, Instagram, and most likely other platforms, which we'll dive into later. Seriously, thank you so much for being here and taking the
Of
time to do this
course.
interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm excited we get to hang out finally.
Right.
Okay, so I have a million questions that I want to ask you as always. As I like to do, let's start at the beginning. From watching your channel, I know a little bit about your origin story into dark alternative fashion, music, and the scenes. But for those who are watching who might not be, or who might be getting introduced to you for the first time, what was your gateway to the dark alternative world?
My very first gateway thing experience was my mom showed me Linkin Park and Breaking the Habit. That was the one. I was like, oh yeah. And I watched that music video constantly in my living room, just on replay. And that really just broke it open for me. And from there, we had Paramore, we had Twilight come out, just all kinds of things. And I started to dip into different countries. And then Cara Lee came up, and I just loved her like dark doll aesthetic. And so, yeah, from there, it just sprung into what it is now.
Awesome. So were you in middle school during that time or?
I'd say it kind of crept in elementary, and then middle school was like, oh, that's what that is. Yeah.
Nice. So was your mom into, like, alternative music as well?
She might not say
Mhm.
particularly, but she did listen to a few different things, and I definitely got a lot of like inspiration from her music taste.
Awesome. Linkin Park, they still I feel like their music still holds up today, to be
Oh yeah,
honest.
definitely.
So in a previous video and a little bit today, you also mentioned that, you first got into nu metal, like, in middle school. I also got into nu metal in, like, 6th grade, so I think it's funny how we have those parallels, but I think, like,
Hmm.
I don't know how many years apart. I was in middle school in the 2000s, um,
Okay.
and the nu metal scene was, like, huge back then, so we had, like, so many nu metal kids, and that was right before emo became huge and kind of became the main scene, but before
Hmm.
that, we had, like, a ton of nu metal kids. So what was it like for you, being into nu metal, when you were in middle school? Was it still, like, a lot of nu metal kids or, was there more scene kids? What was it kinda like back then?
For me, it was more of the emo crowd. So I did try to squeeze myself into that crowd just to, fit in somewhere. Um, but I mean, I don't hate emo. I was like, oh, okay, like this is pretty great too. So, but my development from new metal to goth really started in like high school when I became like more comfortable with myself and more confident. And I was like, okay, like this is me. This is me now. So yeah.
Nice. And then when you were growing up, would you say in your experience, I guess in middle and high school, was it more of like kinda just like dark alternative kids hanging out in general? I know you said you're hanging out with like, emo scene kids. Was that just because it was like, okay, these are the dark alternative kids? Were they kind of like all lumped together, or were there still like different groups?
Honestly, it was kind of like a whole mix of everybody. Everybody kind of got along. Like we hung out with the anime kids. We hung out with the kids who read around the school like Naruto. It was just, a whole group of us. It was so much fun. Honestly, I was in orchestra back in the time, and so I was always trying to incorporate, new metal, emo music, anything into like an orchestral piece. And yeah, it was just a great time.
That sounds really fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It sounds like fun, and I can relate to that and just kind of like there being a lot of overlap and everything.
Hmm.
Um, as dark alternative people, I know most of us identify with various scenes and genres of music. So I know you mentioned like in high school you got more into goth. So what other scenes and genres would you say that you got into early on, or that you're even into now?
Oh, okay, so here we go. I was a huge K-pop fan for the longest. I was diehard. I had to go to every concert. But from from that, I even saw like my awakening happening. Still, because I would only listen to like their darker songs. Like there was a group called Vix, and they had a song called Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde, and their music video was just dark and just spooky. It was just perfect. So that's where I was for a while. And then I was like, oh, let me go over to the hippie side and see what they're doing. And from there, I was really into like spirituality and all of that, which, I still am, but I want to mix it in with, being goth and just the darker aesthetic. And yeah. And so I feel like that's kind of where I'm at now, in a nice, like, happy medium with the hippie K-pop ish and the goth and, the darker aesthetic. I love it. Kind of like how I was
Definitely.
in middle school. Yeah. Just all
Yeah, I
together.
love that. Yeah, it just like
Yeah.
all becomes like a mix into your own unique like style and personality.
Yeah.
Awesome. So in your YouTube videos, you showcase different goth and alternative locations and events, from thrift shops like the Glass Coffin in Austin to the church in Dallas, Texas. So if you had to make a list, like a a guide for goths visiting East Texas, what would be kind of your main locations that you would recommend?
Okay. So I did actually make a list just in case. So we
Yay!
have we have the Blood Rose Boutique down in Austin. I know it's a bit of a drive from like central East Texas, but I think it's definitely worth going to. They just recently upgraded their building, so it's even better. There's more things, and they just have new drops every week. So I love it whenever I can make it down there. But as far as I'm like Dallas area, we have Panopticon, which is a club. It's kind of like a club broken off of the church since they closed down and then reopened, and yeah, it was a whole shamble there. But Panopticon, they have amazing music, and I just recently went, so that was great. We have the House of Goth, which is a clothing store down in Galveston. I've only been once, very long time ago, but if you're in that area, of course. Secret October is also in Austin, and they are more of a punk metal type, but I mean, they have like pieces for everybody, I think, personally. Um, and oh, while we're in Austin, there's Elysium, which is another club. It's really great. They just had a huge like charity event, and they're just really into, helping out the community. So yeah, that's just a few places. They're not so many over here in like East Texas, in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Um, yeah, I feel like they all closed down since I've gotten into the scene, at least. So
So is that like, but obviously that was like before COVID, or excuse me.
yeah, before, I think it was before COVID. Like they were popping over here, and then they closed down because the church closed down right before
Um,
COVID, and then yeah,
that's so interesting. I feel like so many things stopped and closed down just before this like new explosion happening again. Um,
yeah, it's so sad.
yeah, it really is. But it's good to see like things coming back when they
Hmm.
can. So thank you for putting that list together.
Of
Um,
course, and I'll write
yeah.
it down for you so you can have it yourself if you like.
Oh, thank you. I could definitely like rewatch and just like take the notes too. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
'Cause
Of course.
I hope I could plan to go out to, because I'm like so far. I'm like as West Texas as you can get. It seriously takes like 10
Yeah.
hours to drive over there.
It's a
It's
whole
like
day trip. Ugh,
seriously. So I hope I can make it out there hopefully later this year. So I'll definitely be checking out some of those spots.
perfect. I hope you do.
Thank you. And maybe we can even hang out. Who knows?
Yes, definitely.
And just really quick, I want to say hello to the chat. Hi, Virginia. Thank you for being here. Also, we have JayZ. Oh my gosh, honored. JayZ's in here.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
right? Said, hey, hey everyone. Whoa, slips on a banana peel. What an explosion. Oh, what explosion? Oh, so basically, and I hope you're okay, by the way, from your trip and fall.
Yeah.
But, what explosion, more COVID, or yeah, so at least I've kinda noticed and I've experienced that, and I do think it has something to do with the pandemic, like, after the shutdown, I feel like people were just kind of dying to go out again.
Mhm.
But also because like dark alternatives in the mainstream again, there's just so many different reasons that I think have led to an explosion of different scenes. I see it happening in goth and deathcore and just a lot of scenes that kind of fall under dark alternative and maybe other scenes that aren't dark alternative. I just don't know. That's what I've experienced. And with the church opening up again, it sounds like it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. That's nice to see.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Um, yeah, so again, thank you for sharing that list.
Mhm.
So overall, what has the East Texas scene been like for you? And I know it sounds like it has changed over time, and if so, how has that been like? Um, and is one city better than another in terms of the scenes that you visited?
So kind of what we were talking about, there's kind of like been this rebirth here in the Dallas area. It's a little slow to go, but it's happening, and that's all I could ask for. However, I do drive down to Austin quite a bit because I feel like there's more keep it weird down there. And so, naturally gravitate towards the weird. But San Antonio is also having like a nice little bustling goth scene happening. And I've been watching it from afar. So it's really great to see. But yeah, I feel like those are the two hot spots over towards this side.
Nice, good to know. And for you, like how far? What are those drives like for Austin
um,
and San Antonio?
oh, San Antonio, about, I'd say 6, maybe 5 hours. Yeah, maybe closer to 6. But Austin is about 2 hours. Not too bad.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
not too bad because I lived in San Diego for a while, so that's kind of like the San Diego LA drive. But
Okay.
5 hours is kind of definitely more of a
It's a
commitment.
doozy, and then there's
Yeah.
nothing to look at, so it's frustrating.
It's like desert for miles, shrubs.
Maybe a cow, you know.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hello, Bedezell. Thank you for being in the chat. And thank you again, JayZ, for participating. They said, I still wear the masks to save money on toothpaste. Okay. Well, that's one way to save money. Awesome. Yeah, honestly, it sounds really fun. Even though you have to kind of do like these far drives, sounds like there's a lot going on out there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
totally worth it.
yeah. So what do you like the most about the scenes or the different scenes? And if anything, what would you like to be different about the scenes?
Let's see. I like the most how inclusive it's becoming. I enjoy the inclusivity, obviously. But what I would like to change is more inclusivity in bigger brands, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like there just could be more. Like some companies, I go on their Instagram and it's just all the same, and it'd be nice to see a little bit of everybody on a page. And I think that really, especially in 2024, I feel like that's really just the way to go. Just, create a family.
Oh, sorry, I tried to take myself off mute.
You're
A
fine.
Absolutely, 100%, and not to put you on the spot, but off the top of your head, are there any, like, brands or specific, like, scenes that you feel like are, doing a better job at inclusivity that we could, like, look out for?
I know Lively Ghost just had a drop and they had this amazing male model on there. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Of course, the lady was amazing as well, but it was just nice
Mhm.
to see, familiarity. Let's see. Le Femme Noir, they have beautiful models on there every race, and it's just amazing. And I think, you know, Killstar has a few. They use I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Killstar's lineup. I feel like it could be better. But yeah, I love just being able to see everybody everywhere all at once.
Definitely, definitely agree. And hopefully, like you said, we'll just be seeing more of that as time
Yeah.
goes on. Um, awesome. Okay, so speaking of presence and representation and social media, let's nerd out about YouTube. um, so you started your YouTube channel, Rouge The Goth, just a little over a year ago. And congratulations on getting to a year. I feel like that's like a huge milestone.
Thank
And
you.
absolutely. And going back, I see January 19th, 2023 as when you first posted. So what inspired you to start your channel, and how do you feel about, accomplishing your first year on YouTube overall?
Oh, well, let's get to the shorter answer first. I'm so happy and proud of myself that I was able to stay this consistent on something, and that just lets me know that like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like this is my ish, if you will. But what got me started, I grew up as a single child and only child, so I always had to like entertain myself. And so I feel like I've grown as a person from entertaining myself, and so I'm able to like entertain others, hopefully. And I actually went to school for film and product or production, so I know all the back end stuff. I was in theater. I was a theater kid. Did front of house, back of house. I was just been into the whole scene of entertainment this whole time. And fashion just really came with theater for me, just putting together like Victorian plays, just it melted my heart. And so it just kind of all comes together as to where it came from. But yeah, I really enjoy it. It's so much fun, especially just getting something from start to finish, a final product.
Seriously, like, huge congrats to you, because number one, it is challenging to be consistent, and you could see, like, you really have been consistent, not just on YouTube, but, like, on Instagram. So, huge congrats to you. That's, like, a big deal.
Thank
And
you.
that's so awesome that you, like, have the background, and that also comes through because your content is so polished. Like, it's just so professional. So, I just have to, like, shout that out because you could see it. It really does come through.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And yeah, so speaking of that, like I said, you really bring a high level of quality, video ideas, consistency, the thumbnails, the titles, all the things that you hear YouTube experts talk about. And as a someone who's a YouTube nerd, I love seeing creators like getting it right. um, and I say that as someone who doesn't always get it right. Like I have a lot of stuff that I need to work on myself, but I can recognize it when I see it. So when it comes to making your content, do you have a certain process or resources that help you stay on top of your game and help you with your consistency?
Um, let's see. I don't think so. Well, here's what happens. So it'll be 3 a.m. and I pop out of my sleep and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And so I have this whole notes app on my phone just full of ideas. As far as like my plan and like how I stay consistent, I'm having so much fun. It doesn't feel like a job or like, oh, I have to film today. I'm just like, oh, okay, like let's get this idea out so I don't go stir crazy. One, and it's just hanging out. I don't know. I just have a really good time.
I love that. That's the best. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if we're not gonna do what we enjoy, I mean, what's the point, right? Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that as well. We
Of
have some
course.
more people in the chat. Ruby says hello. Thank you for being here today.
Hello.
Ruby says, I wish we lived in Texas. I'm in KC area, and it's an okay scene. KC.
Oh,
Where is that?
Kentucky?
Kentucky? Okay, okay,
Yeah.
Kentucky. Oh, that's where Albie from Scary Black is. I'm not sure where in Kentucky you are, but apparently in Louisville there's a pretty good scene. So
Oh,
if
I've
you're
heard.
close to
Yeah.
that, yeah, something to check out. JayZ says smash a like, thank you. Ruby says YouTube is my favorite platform. Yes, me too.
Me too.
Yay. JayZ said somehow I have 335 subscribers and I barely upload anything. Hey, it happens,
Yeah.
just keep doing it. Do it when you can. Um, like consistency can be really hard, but some people like get it really right. Like Rouge here is a perfect example. uh, Ruby said, just subscribe. Thank you. And I hope you subscribe to Rouge as well if you're not already. And I'm sorry, I'm calling you Rouge. Is that what you prefer to be called, or?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, and then Virginia said, "I try to subscribe to as many goth channels as I find." Yeah, and it's nice to see that continuing to grow as well. Oh, Casey
Mhm.
is Kansas City. Okay. I
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know
okay.
anything about Kansas City. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. Oh, hello, and Ugly Bunny is in here, and thank you all again for your participation. Really appreciate the engagement and conversation as always. So yeah, thank you for sharing a little bit more about your process. I'm just really glad that it's fun for you again. That comes through as well. Like, I know you just like have such a great personality. Like when you do your like singing that you do, like I love that.
I see you're coming through.
Yeah, you can tell you're having fun for sure. So it sounds like you touched on this a little bit, but what has been your favorite parts about being a YouTuber, and what, if anything, has been your biggest challenges?
Let's see. My favorite part. Yeah, I think the start to finish of an entire video and then being able to put it out there and then getting feedback. I love that. I love just being able to talk to everybody from anywhere. um, I think the hardest thing would have to be, hmm, I don't know. Maybe equipment malfunctioning. Sometimes audio doesn't always go as planned, or lighting will turn off immediately. Just stuff like that. But I mean, it's all fixable. Yeah.
That's so real, and something I think basically every YouTuber can relate to, like,
Oh
from
yeah.
the smaller YouTubers to the, biggest YouTubers, like, I know Toxic Tears, she's always like, "My camera died, my battery's not working," so it's like,
And
yeah.
my SD card corrupted.
Yeah, oh, even worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Um, do you have any, favorite pieces of equipment or things that, like, have, upped your quality or that you just enjoy working with?
I am working with what I consider a starter kit of my own. So I think I can only go up from here with what I have. But for starting, at least, I think the Canon G7X. I know it was like all the craze in like 2015, 16 era, and I finally have my hands on one, and I think it's great. It just has like auto focusing issues, and I'm just like, okay, like I'm trying to show people things, and it's just like. So yeah, but I think it's still one of my favorites. It has amazing low light quality or visuals. It's just yeah, yeah, that's my favorite.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because there's so many things out there. So it's just always interesting to hear, what everyone is using. And for
Mm.
anyone out there who wants to get started, honestly, if you have a smartphone, you can start with that too. There is
Sometimes they're better quality.
yeah, sometimes. Um, okay, awesome. And thank you. Wow, seriously, thank you, Jeff Jones. This is the first super chat like we've ever gotten in here. So celebrate. Yeah. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Appreciate you. And thank you for being here. Like, I wish we had like some kind of graphic or explosion to show you like how much that means. But seriously, thank you. It's always really great as a content creator to get support. So thank you. Um, and JayZ said, "I like watching old school TV and taking power naps." Okay. I like taking power naps too, seriously.
Me too. I sometimes like to put on like the Addams Family, the original, and just go to sleep, pass out,
Oh,
and like a Saturday
yes.
morning again.
Definitely. Yeah, like earlier, or I guess that was last year now. Wow. Last year I started this like routine when I was trying to get better at like having a skincare routine of like putting on the monsters and just like it's just
Trying to,
relaxing.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's YouTube, which is a lot in itself, but it sounds like because you're having fun, it kind of doesn't make it feel so much like work.
Mhm.
But you're also on Instagram and you're also like very consistent on there as well. Do you create content on any other platforms?
So I do. I just made a Facebook account for my creator account. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on sometimes Pinterest because I just feel like Pinterest is a little overwhelming. And then I have TikTok, of course. And I like posting like my get ready with me's, like the quick ones, just on TikTok or sometimes on Instagram, but mainly on TikTok. But yeah, I feel like I try to spread things out so not everything is the same. But yeah.
Awesome. And how are you enjoying TikTok?
Um, I like TikTok. Well, I compare the two, TikTok and YouTube. And I like TikTok because it's quick. It's, everybody has, just about everybody has a TikTok, and they can get what they see really fast and then move on. But like, I like YouTube because I get to share my personality more and get to like hang out. It feels like we're actually hanging out, like the parasocial relationships. So yeah, I have my likes for both.
Definitely, yeah, because they are very different. It's funny how, like, all the platforms have, like, their own vibes, and not just in practicality, because like, obviously TikTok's mostly just short form, but
Mhm.
just, like, the vibes are different.
They
What's
are,
been your
yeah.
experience with, like, Instagram?
I'm having so much fun on Instagram. I finally figured out like how to like interact with other people and like engagement and how much that actually means something on Instagram. And so like being able to just reach out and find new people to just hang out with virtually, it's just been so much fun. And I can't wait to meet more people.
Nice. What has been, like, kinda those game changer things? Like you said, you learned how to do the engagement on Instagram. What's been kind of the different, I guess, actions, or I don't know what to call it, but habits on Instagram?
Yeah, so it's kind of step by step process. So of course liking and commenting on some of the bigger accounts and like, hey, I like this or that, and give them a like. But it's also finding people who comment and commenting with them, and then following each other, and then it's like a tree, like a chain. It just each process is a step, and then eventually you follow each other, and then you have your following go up, and it's just yeah. And I've actually met a lot of cool people from doing that, so you meet friends. It's a win-win situation.
Definitely, it sounds like genuine community, and it sounds like you're doing it genuinely too. Because I know there's a lot of people on TikTok that are like, "Follow for follow," and then, like, they'll
Ugh,
unfollow, like, it's so annoying,
that's the
honestly.
worst. That
It
I was
is.
actually in a trend like that on TikTok. None of them interact. None. They all watch, never say anything, and I'm like, but I like your stuff. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
unfollow you.
I
Yeah.
know. It's so I don't wanna say complicated, but it's just interesting because it's like, on one hand, you don't wanna do like, "Oh, well, if you're not watching my stuff, I'm not watching your stuff." But on the other hand, it's like, well, okay, did you just do this because you wanted another number? Is there, like, no genuine connection here?
Right. Like, can
So,
we just be chill?
yeah,
Relax.
definitely. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad to hear you're having fun on Instagram. Because to be honest, the last few interviews that I've done, we've kinda touched on Instagram in some of them, and everyone's, like, struggling with Instagram, so it's nice to actually hear from someone who's having a good time over there.
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, it's good. And like, that's some good tips as well for how to possibly have a better time on Instagram.
I hope it helps.
Yeah. Okay, so again, that you're doing a lot, balancing and juggling all of these things. Uh what I have to ask because it's just like, how do you do this? And again, it sounds like it's fun, so maybe that's like a little bit different for versus like, someone who's like struggling. But what does a typical day in your life look like, or maybe a typical week? Do you have any kind of set schedules or rituals that just help you to be consistent and, do the things that you enjoy doing in life?
Um, my schedule can vary week to week, but for like a consistent, a more consistent schedule would be like mornings. Have my coffee, take a little walk around my neighborhood, and just mind, out of body. Be in nature, because that's usually where I have my best ideas. Actually, I know that's cliche to say, but yeah. So and then I'll come home and then get right to work. Usually I'll film 2 to 3 videos in the first half of the week, and then spend the rest of the week just editing, making sure I do it the best I can, make sure each video is better than the last. And yeah. And then at the end of the evening, I just play video games, nerd out, play video games, watch anime, watch old scary movies, and just relax. And then repeat.
I love that. It sounds very balanced, and I know obviously it's probably like slightly more
Yeah.
chaotic than than it sounds, because I mean that's life. But it sounds like you at least have the intention to do these things, like take time for yourself in the morning, like create space for just like your mind and like being in nature, and then like getting the creativity out early on, and then the editing, and just relaxing, video games. I mean,
Yeah.
like we all need that like rest time.
Mhm.
Um, so were you kind of, I mean, and this is a weird question to ask because it's like obviously like when you're like a young kid, there's just kind of most of us have like a lot of like growing to do from like being, teenagers or whatever. But so when I say
Mhm.
always, I don't mean necessarily always, but um have you had this sort of like system in place for yourself for a while, or how did you kind of learn to develop these things in a way that like works for you?
Oh no, so I was not ever organized. I actually have ADHD, so if anyone knows, then you know it's a struggle to even like get yourself to do things sometimes. So that's where the mainly the for my weeks come from. But yeah, I really just try to be in the moment, present with myself, and just aware of what I'm trying to do because each day is a struggle. Sometimes, well, not each day. Some days are a struggle, and just being able to talk to yourself and like, okay, like these are your steps. You have to do something, and then if you don't get all of them done, well, you did some of something. So it's kind of like a to-do list. I always try to have my to-do list, and if it doesn't get done, well, there's always tomorrow. So that's how I'm growing. I've been trying.
You're doing. You're doing, and it shows, but I really appreciate you sharing that because I also struggle with ADHD, and I feel like that's such a familiar thing for people who struggle with it. Especially like you said, the like kind of almost like crushing, debilitating feeling of like not, well, it's not even that you don't want to do anything. Most of the time you want to do stuff, but it's just like the
Like
inability
a
to.
weight.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so thank you for sharing that because it's very relatable. And if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer. We can skip on to the next question. But I just think mental health is so important. And when we talk about it, it does help others feel like they're not alone.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that, it wasn't always this way. Was there kind of, what was the turning point like when you kind of put these structures in place for yourself? Um, was there kind of like a specific moment, or was it just something that gradually happened over time that made you kind of realize, oh, I need to do this for myself?
I think honestly, when I enter my spirituality era, um, that really helped me like awaken. And I know people say, "Oh, meditation, meditation," but it really did something. It really just like snapped awake, and I felt like I'm awake, like I'm here. So honestly, the whole healing your inner child thing, I think, really makes a difference. I've been, doing my. It's something I'm so passionate about. So excuse me, but healing my inner child, it just really helped me to like grow into a full, complete person. And I think that's where I draw my most happy moments from, just making her happy. Yeah.
Ah, I love that. That's like so real too. And something that I'm glad to see as a society we're getting better at like talking about these things and taking them more seriously. But it's still something that, is still kind of like stigmatized, I think, or it's like, oh, you're talking about your childhood, like get over it. And it's
Yeah.
like, but
Go
like
to
you said,
therapy.
right. But it's like such, like you said, a pivotal thing for most people that if you don't address it, if you don't take that time to do it, it can really continue to like hold you back in so many ways. So I
Mhm.
love that. I love hearing that. I know that it's not like a flip being switched. It's like a daily process still, I'm sure, but I'm so glad to hear that that was a big game changer for you and that you took the time to do that for yourself.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy that I, was able to like pinpoint it and just do it and just try to do it every day. So it really makes a difference.
Amazing. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, so going over to the chat, we've had some some people in the chat talking. Let's see. Oh, Ruby said, so Rouge touched on this at the beginning, but Ruby just asked, how long have you been in the goth scene? She said, I started when I was 5th grade. Sorry if you answered this already. But yeah,
I've been in. Oh
oh,
yeah.
go for it,
Oh,
go for it.
oh yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it like goth, but I kind of crept my way in between scenes. So I would say like as being called myself goth, I think it was maybe 3 years, four maybe now. Yeah.
Nice. And then earlier we talked about how Rouge got into like dark alternative, kind of like here and there in elementary, and then in middle school it was like full on. Ruby said, I'm 30 now and starting to feel like I'm too old for this. No, please don't.
No,
No.
you're never too old. Oh my
Never.
goodness, never.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because honestly, like I kind of long story short, I won't go too much into it, but like I was into all these dark alternative scenes when I was younger. Then in my 20s, I stepped away, and I also felt like, oh, I'm too old for this. Like I even used to look up like how old like, how old is too old to, like, dye your hair different colors? Like, I literally would Google that. It's, like, really,
Yeah.
you know, something I think a lot of people feel like, in their 20s, especially for some reason, but you're not. Like, I'm at 34 now and getting even more into the scene, so please don't feel too old, just keep being yourself.
Please, please. The world needs more individuality.
Yes! And more authenticity, just be you.
Yes.
Chris Smith says, uh oh, to Ruby, "Ruby, don't stop, I'm 56 and still looking like the '80s goth I started as." Yes, exactly.
Yay. Ugh.
Thank you, Chris Smith. JayZ said, "I've lived in Salem, Massachusetts, and most of my clothing is black, so I might be goth. I kind of wear it to try looking thinner, but I'm I'm counting it."
It's a win-win.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, wow, Daddy, um, Waluigi? Oh, Waluigi? Like, as
Oh,
in
like
Wario?
Mario?
Yeah, I think
Oh
so.
yeah.
Thank you so much for the super sticker. Seriously appreciate it. Um,
Thank you.
yay. And then just a few more here. Christmas said, uh, thank you. Christmas is talking to Ruby.
Okay.
Ruby said, I have bipolar and derealization, depersonalization, so I understand not being able to get up and do things. Yeah, you're not alone. So it's really hard when you're dealing with mental health stuff. Just try not to beat yourself up. It's like really hard to
Yeah.
say because I feel like it's almost a symptom of a lot of what we go through, or if it's related at all to like PTSD or childhood stuff, like beating yourself up is kind of the normal function of the brain. But try not to beat yourself up because a lot of people can relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Daddy Waluigi said Rouge the Goth is the best YouTuber ever. Okay, so this is a fan of yours.
Hi. And thank you.
And then Virginia said, never too old. Yes, exactly. And next week we'll be talking with Virginia too, who's also come back into the scene after the 30s. So absolutely everyone keep being yourselves. Age like don't let
Means
people tell you're
nothing.
too old. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so thank you, chat, and thank you again for like I really appreciate you opening up and sharing more about your mental health because like I said, it's just so important and obviously a lot of people can relate to that as well.
No problem.
So let's talk fashion. So I love your look. I keep hearing people say nowadays that like now thanks to, the big box stores that dark alternative dress has lost its like personality and that we're all just cookie cutter, and I disagree because I still see so many people, yourself included, who have like their own unique kind of signature look. And I really feel like you have an elegance to your style that appears in a lot of your looks. So how would you describe your own style and how has it evolved over time?
Ooh, so I would describe my style as I'd say a romantic goth for the most part. I do dabble in Victorian goth because that's my second favorite. Um, and I also kind of I don't think it has a style, but it's just like comfy goth, like cozy. So like if I'm not dolled up, I'm still goth, and you can tell, but it's just comfy. But it has evolved from the alternative scene. I was also kind of dressing emo at one point. I had the fringe. It was just a mess, honestly. But I did do that, and I have my fishnets. Even though I still have fishnets, I have my fishnets, and like that was the primary like outfit. If it didn't have fishnets, it wasn't complete. Yeah, I was really into the Hot Topic scene. I still kind of am, but now it's just it's over there. But yeah, that's how I describe it.
Nice. And yeah, Hot Topic's interesting. I haven't been to a Hot Topic in a long time, but I also like Hot Topic was also very heavily part of my like experience growing up.
Mm.
And yeah, definitely fishnets. But it's changed so much. Like now it's like there's not too much clothing, at least last time I was there. It's more kind of like Funko
K-pop
Pops and
stuff.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's interesting, but I wonder now with, like, the explosion of, like, dark alternative again, if they'll kinda go back to,
I have
having more of the
seen.
clothing. Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen some
Ooh.
TikToks. It's like, oh, a Hot Topic's healing.
Yeah. It's
It
coming
is
back.
because yeah, like they had Invader Zim or something in there. I was like,
Oh, nice.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Such a good cartoon.
Mhm.
Awesome. So do you have any current and you I touched on this a little bit, but I guess just like more into specifics about like pieces and accessories. Do you have any staples like right now that you reach for over and over again? Or like if it's not like a specific piece, like a type of piece that you go for?
Mm. I think I'm gonna have to say it's a type of piece, and of course, it has to have sleeves. That's my thing. Anything with a sleeve, it doesn't really matter because like, I'm always like, I can cover it up if the bodice is ugly or something. Like as long as the sleeves. But I've also really been into like the frills that like they'll be right here on a shirt. I don't know what exactly that's called in the fashion world. Yeah, that's really been my staple piece so far. Frills and sleeves. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like the sleeves, actually, I think maybe I accidentally wore this in your honor today. Yeah. Um, so sleeves I feel like are probably easier to come by. Where do you find your frillier, outfits? Are there, like, any particular places that are easier to
um,
find them?
Honestly, the thrift store, that's the last place I ever thought that I'd find stuff like that. And every time I go, I see something that's just, frilly in a different way. And I have it now. So my whole closet's just turning into that. But that's okay because it's thrifted and yeah, loved again.
Yes, definitely. I love that you have, such a strong emphasis of thrifting on your channel as well, and, with these pieces, I mean, I'm sure it's, like, very different piece to piece, but are a lot of the ones with frills, do they seem like vintage or
Um,
kind of a mix?
it's kind of a mix, mostly because a lot of people cut out the tag, and I'm not really sure why. So I'll never know, and sometimes it drives me nuts, and I'll stay up thinking about it for hours. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of a mix because it doesn't feel like fast fashion. If you know that like feeling of something that's been fast fashioned, yeah.
Definitely, and, in your thrift videos, um I actually haven't noticed or don't remember. Have you seen like a change in price? Because I know this is something a lot of people are talking about. Is it affecting like the thrift shops in your area? Has it been, like, really bad or
So I have noticed specifically Goodwill going way up in price. Um, yeah, some things don't make sense for the price. I haven't seen anything crazy like a spoon for $5, but I have seen like just a basic tank top go for like almost $6. And I was like, it's a tank top. Somebody wore this already. You got it for free. Um, yeah, I've noticed. And honestly, like when I did my $20 thrift challenge, it was so hard just to do that. And I'm just so happy it was winter so I could get a sweater, a full body sweater. Because if I still had to find each piece, I feel like I would have never completed that challenge. So
that is so wild, like, I feel like it must have changed, like, literally just in the last few years too, because I think I remember going to the thrift store, like, in 2019, like, just before COVID. I think that was the last time I went to a thrift store, and I got, like, a whole bag of clothes, like, a whole bag of clothes for, like, 40 bucks or something, and
yep,
now I'm seeing people posting videos of, like, one item is like 40 bucks or something
yeah.
wild. But it is just interesting because the price of like everything has gone up. So I know some people blame like resellers, but I mean they have been around forever. I don't think it's just the resellers. I think it's like just like the price of everything going up. And I just wonder how much of it is greed from the thrift shops or how much is it like, dude, like rent's gone up, like everything's gone up. Like, is this just our reality now?
Right. Ugh,
Kind of scary.
yeah.
But yeah, thank you for sharing that. Um, Always interesting to hear, what it's like in other corners of the world. And apparently that's affecting everyone. So hopefully that changes soon or something happens.
Hopefully. Something,
Yeah,
please.
something. Yeah. Um, do you have any favorite? Well, we talked a little bit about brands earlier. But do you have any favorite brands that you would like to highlight? And have you had the opportunity to work with any brands yet? Actually, let's just start with the favorite brands because that's like a two questions. So yeah.
Okay. My favorite brand. Ooh, definitely Foxblood. Foxblood. That's my favorite. I haven't been to their. Oh, that's a lie. I have been to their physical location, the one they just opened in Salem. And it was the corner of the store, but it was still magical. I still had a great time. Um, and then I like Les Femmes Noir. I haven't bought a piece from them yet, but I love the aesthetic of the website. I love the pieces that they've curated so far on the website, and it's just great. Who else? Let's see. I think. Hmm. Hold on. I wrote down some of my interests. um.
Nice.
Oh, I like Scarlet Darkness. There we go. How could I
Oh,
forget? Yeah, when I'm wanting to dabble into more of my Victorian like outfits or Renaissance outfits, that's where I go. Yeah, and I haven't had a bad piece.
nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing some of those. I definitely haven't heard of at least one of them, so I'll definitely be checking them out.
Oh, please
Um,
do.
Definitely. Um, Second question that I was trying to lump into one, which didn't make any sense. Have you had the opportunity to work with any brands yet? And if so, any positive or negative experiences that you would like to share? I know sometimes it's like, oh, you don't necessarily want to share if there was a negative experience, so I understand, but anything you'd be open to sharing, definitely interested in hearing about.
Sure. I've worked with two more popular brands. Well, three. I've worked with Temu so far. It's Temu. You get what you get. Um, I've worked with Snack Tights just recently. I love Snack Tights. Those tights, wow. If you ever need tights, and I wasn't even paid for it. It was a gifted collab, and I'd definitely give them my coins. And then I
They're
worked with.
stunning.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, and they have so many things. And now they have the footless ones, which I didn't get, but now I'm like, "Ah, now I need them." So I've also worked with X Plus Wear, and I got their Halloween collection. Like I worked with them on that, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, I had no negatives for them or snack tights. So yeah.
Nice. That's always good news. But yeah, definitely I love those tights are so beautiful. I actually just saw the short that you posted, with those. I love them so much.
Ugh,
So
they're
thank you for
so good
sharing.
quality. Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
More places for everyone out there to check out.
Right.
Absolutely. So now that you have over a year of experience with your channel, what advice would you like to give to anyone who would like to start a YouTube channel?
Um, so I think, of course, you're gonna always hear, no matter what you look up, consistency is key. Um, so yeah, that's a big one. Unfortunately for some, but I think if you really are in a niche that you love, I think it won't be a job, it won't be a chore. And I know people say like niche down, blah blah blah, but I feel like we are as people just trying to find people like us, and you can't really do that if you're stuck in a niche. So like if I only did fashion, I feel like only just the fashion people. I mean, there's so many other people that could potentially find you if you just did something else that you might like as well. So yeah, I think having your passion and just being consistent with your uploads, yeah, it really comes through on camera.
Awesome. That's great advice. Solid advice. And I love that because sometimes it's like, the mainstream advice, which obviously exists for a reason, um, is I don't know how to say it. It's like, especially like talk about like niche down. It's like obviously we get why that exists. Like the
Mm-hmm.
algorithm will like find you and be like, okay, this is the type of content they put out. But then, like you said, it takes away from that like personality, which is a lot of what people are looking for. I feel like, especially like on YouTube. So
Especially since
really
it's
good
so much
advice.
longer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So going back to the chat before our coming up to our last question, um, we have Daddy Waluigi uh, asking a question. Does your partner dress the same as well?
Um, so they kind of have their own style, and I agree with their style. Whatever they want to do, dress however. But they will also dress with me if I ask, like, oh, hey, can you like dress up for the vampire ball? Yeah, or like maybe we'll go to the Ren Fair or something, and then we'll dress up a certain way. So they're really like, flexible with whatever they wear, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. How fun. I mean, it just seems like just fun to I don't know. I don't want to be like biased, but I feel like dark alternative people just have all the fun. So let your partner be who they are
Hey.
and have the most fun. Awesome. Uh, and Virginia said, "Can everyone share their YouTube pages or Instagram so I could follow? Need more goth friends." Yes, feel free to share, please, in the chats. Rouge, we have all of her links in the description below. That's what I'm trying to say. Links in the description below, and everyone else feel free to share. Ruby, thank you for becoming a member. Seriously, welcome to the crypt. And then fishnets, trip skirts, and pants. I know that's small goth, but I always love them. I feel like the more time goes on, yeah, of course you're gonna have people like, okay, for example, goth. We think about like the trad goth look, right? Or like Victorian or like these different styles. And then when you think about new metal, you have, like you said, the fishnets and all that. But as time goes on, I feel like you're gonna find individuals who might not necessarily look like what they listen to, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
just be yourself. Enjoy what you enjoy, like what you like. Because that's gonna be different for everybody. And then JayZ said, I also use uh, Bat, Bat Batiste dark hairspray, but really just to
Wow.
cover bald spots, still counting toward my goth stats. Hey, do whatever works best for you. And then Ruby said, Foxblood is definitely my favorite today. Nice. Christmas says, brands interesting. I have a habit for Vixen clothing, also Black Widow in Camden, London. Oh, nice.
Oh,
I haven't heard
never
of
heard
those
of Black
either.
Widow.
Yeah, something else to check out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And then before we get into our last question, we have one more question from JayZ. Ever use a Ouija board?
Oh no. Mm-mm. No, no, no. I don't know how to protect myself properly in that sense, and I don't want anything in my house. So
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's like, I've
yeah.
got enough issues, I don't need to invite anyone else in here.
Right.
Please and thank
Right.
you. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for your time today. This has been really fun. It's always fun getting to know more like behind the scenes and insights and personal experiences. So I really appreciate you like just being open about everything.
Of
Um,
course.
so last question, what are you hoping for or looking forward to for yourself and your channel in the coming year since we're still kind of at the beginning of 2024, but just in general as well?
Well, of course, I hope to grow, reach more people, make more friends. But really, I just want to just hang out. Like, I feel like that's just the whole vibe, hopefully, of my channel. Let's hang out, let's thrift, let's talk about fashion, travel a little, eat a little, just being human, human. Yeah, that's kind of what I want for my channel for forever, however long it goes on for.
Absolutely. And again, that does come through. You definitely create like such a warm, welcome, inviting space where, we get to see your interests, but also it's like, okay, we get to like relate as well. And then, that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you too, because like being from Texas in the other corner, I was just like so interested in, your experiences, but also just really appreciate like the quality of content, everything you do. It's awesome. So yes, thank you for creating your space for people to come hang out. Um, and yes, cheers to everything coming in the future. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out and
Thank
see
you.
you next time. Or actually, is there anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
Not off the top of my brain. No, but I do want to say thank you so much for having me on the show, and I really appreciate it. This was so much fun. I was nervous at first, I was, but it just felt like talking with an old friend, and I really appreciate like when you find people like that. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Same, likewise. And I still get nervous before every single one too. So it's just a thing. But yeah, no, thank you so much. And hey, who knows? Maybe if you ever want to come out to West Texas for one of our goth nights, it would be super fun.
Oh,
Travel the 10
definitely.
hours it takes to get here.
At that point, yeah, just make it a stop on the way to California.
Seriously, actually though, I mean, you might as well. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to hang out in real life one of these days. And thank you so much again. And I'll be seeing you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.